welcome back. Seika Groves, a.k.a. Mrs. Mooney, is an archaeologist who's fascinated with the dark side of Victorian culture. Ooh, not with vampires. I don't know why I'm talking like that. Her house is filled with a crazy assortment of medical specimens and oddities from the Victorian age and even older.
Yes, Mrs. Groves is also the steampunk fashion designer we featured on the show not too long ago, and Mrs. Mooney is her oddball alter ego. Cythia had the chance to visit the missus at her house in Hamilton for a rather scary and extremely memorable tour of her oddities collection. This is today's Halloween treat.
Mrs. Mooney, she's my alter ego. She's a character that I developed for teaching people about Victorian history.
You are a collector as well of oddities. When did this collection start?
I've always liked odd different things, right? And I've always been obsessed with skulls, especially animal skulls.
So are you going to take me on a tour of the oddities?
Sure, I'll take you on a tour of my oddities.
Odd girl going on an odd tour of oddities. This looks a little bit like a Victorian torture device. What is it?
This is the dental drill.
Oh, so it is a torture device.
Aside from the dental drill, the animal skulls, a blue mink, and some dead bugs, Mrs. Mooney also showed me a shrunken head, some rather creepy Victorian stump dolls, a scary collection of funerary photographs, and various 19th century medicinal specimen jars, including...
I've got the human ear.
Ah!
That's a human thumb.
Ah! Where's the owner of that thumb?
I've got tongues in here, 2 human tongues.
I am speechless about the human tongues. Ah!
And scariest of all...
It's my mummy.
Oh my goodness.
And we're actually going to partially unwrap him so we can have a look at
This
him.
isn't real, right?
Yeah, it's real. He needed a name, and so I had a room full of people, and I said, he doesn't have a name. He got named Bob. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I will ever be.
He's not going to bite you.
Promise?
I promise. So you can help me by peeling these back. And I should probably offer you a hanky just to cover your nose because, you don't know about the mummy's curse? And the mold spores?
No, I don't want to get cursed.
They might make you crazy if you
Okay, so
breathe
this
them
is
in.
going to help me not get cursed? This is going to protect me.
At the mention of the mummy's curse, our cameraman walked out of the room and wouldn't return until Mrs. Mooney assured him that we would all be okay.
It's sort of impossible to describe this. Like, all joking aside, this is kind of a lot.
Well, it took some time to absorb what I was seeing and trust that Bob wasn't going to curse us. Mrs. Mooney then proceeded to tell me that there was a mandatory initiation involved with Bob, a way of telling if Bob was the real deal.
You have to lick the mummy.
Lick the mummy.
I kid you not.
I just met Bob.
That is how we decipher whether or not he is a true mummy, especially an Egyptian mummy.
There?
Yeah, I cleaned there for you.
Okay. It's kind of salty.
You're tasting that natron.
Okay.
That salt that bicarbonate salt mix.
According to Mrs. Mooney, in the Victorian era, rich people would hold mummy unwrapping parties in their parlors. And yet, despite all the action Bob has received in the past, I know that we shared a special moment, one that will forever be seared in my memory.
What's not to love about Bob?
Nothing. We love you, Bob.
I still can't believe she did that. And I love Basil the cameraman just taking off.
He was genuinely scared. That was the actual footage of him being like, nope, I'm out.
I'm gone. Sorry.
I can't blame him, though. I mean, I didn't... no, we're actually unwrapping a mummy, and we're going to look at the actual face of a person who is alive and was preserved.
Right. Well, you kind of also want to honor the fact that though very, very old, that's actually a person.
Yes.
So it's a fine line, but it seems like Mrs. Mooney, does kind of, honor the history that goes on there as well.
And as she was saying, as you saw in the piece, this is something that people used to do, in their homes all the time. Oh, we're going to unwrap a mummy, whatever, have some absinthe and just hang out.
Just have some absinthe and hang out.
I assume that that's what they did. I can't go on record saying that's fact. But,
we're all about the science today.
Absinthe and mummy unwrapping, they go together.
You have a
like
party.
Peanut butter and jam.
Actually, absinthe and money, that's where peanut butter and jam came from. Actually, that's a thing. It's not a thing. Death photography, though, all the Victorian kind of photography around death is really fascinating if you ever get a chance to
I don't know
look
if
it
I'd
up.
want to unwrap a mummy, but I'd certainly love to visit Mrs. Mooney's oddities. That looked really cool.
Well, now I want a peanut butter and jam sandwich.
Me too, and some absinthe. Stick around, we got more after the break.